All right, hey guys, welcome back. I'm Rufio Phoenix here at Phoenix Code. Call me Phoenix Redborn. Anyway, welcome back to another vlog. Today I wanted to kind of touch base on a topic that I know people have asked the question in their minds over, but I don't think they've had the balls to ask it out in public outright to anyone with this kind of problem. All right, what's the problem exactly? The problem is fantasy. And there are people who are for fantastic things, and then there are people who are against fantastic things. An example of this can be some people are for AI and moving it forward. Other people are against and afraid of AI and what it could become. The same goes for people. It's not just AI that people are afraid of. They're afraid of the fantasy that they think it might become real. So that's what they're really afraid of. They're afraid of possibly The Matrix or The Terminator or Total Recall, War of the Worlds, stuff that would have been around during the time of like Reagan and Kennedy fantasy eras. Instead, I'd like to propose that these people are simply under a guise of an irrational fear. Their irrational fear to why they would be like anti-robotics versus pro-humanity. And humanity's design is to create. Our entire function as a human organism is to create more of ourselves and then kind of create something in the image of ourselves. That's our mission in life, and above and beyond all that, to get out there and conquer the stars, But there is a peaceful way to go about this, and a lot of people have this fear that if you're peaceful, you'll just get walked on. And the reason they feel that way is because people of the human race do that, and some of them do it and are afraid of it anyway, because they do it. So, this irrational fear. What is this irrational fear? This irrational fear is the fear of fantasy. The fear of your dreams. The fear of failure or succumbing to divine judgment in other ways, I guess. An act of God being your dream comes to life and kills you, being the worst case scenario. The ideal case scenario is you get married and die together with your spouse. Okay, so that's the human hubris right there. Right there, even though, and another part of our hubris as humans is that we could go from 0 to 100 with we either do not want to kill or we suddenly want to end something, and I think that's our Cain and Abel, Cainist and ableist kind of mentalities. And I think the two of them clash specifically because one doesn't want to do anything but hurt people, and the other one wants to help people by building them things, or creating something to entertain them, or blah, 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 blah. You get it. Creation, And I think people are irrationally afraid of fantasy because it could come true and be something they're afraid of. And this is where I'd like to go ahead and just quote a song from Devil May Cry 4. Face your fears. You gotta face them. No, I don't. I'm afraid of it for a reason. You're afraid of it for a reason because it's holding you back. It's a mental block rather than you evolving. Face your fears. Holding on to them and being at the mercy of them is certainly not a way to live, but an act of rebellion against your dreams is a sure contradiction of life, People in America live for their dreams, they do. Some people dream of going out and saving the world from an invasion of aliens. Some people dream of going out there and investigating murder scenes. Who knows? There's a whole bunch of possibilities. But the thing is that in each one, there will be a few different layers to the sense of fear. You must traverse this as if you have property there, meaning walk like you own the place. People hate that in people. They do. They're like, oh, he's so smug. He walks like he owns the place. Yes, the fuck I do, and I'm glad I do. You want to know why? Because that's real confidence embodied. Fuck with it, But I think people are mostly afraid of fantasy because they're afraid that if their fantasies come to reality, that their fantasies will hunt them like they hunt cows or other animals or fish. Truth is that the ocean breeds worse monsters than the human mind can create. Because anything in movies or popular media that is extraterrestrial or paranormal or supernatural, guess what? They all think, they all act, they all perform like humans in some psychological way. I really do not think that demons are that cognitively smart yet. Only a handful would be closely similar to that kind of cognition. They don't have education systems in hell. So let's just go out on a whim here and assume the demons are naturally probably pretty stupid. Okay? They're not very intelligent. Most of them will just stand there and let you beat on them, So let's go ahead and just assume they're not very bright. Okay? So, oh, but what about demonic possession? When in the last 100 years have you heard of demonic possession being a thing? When? No. Demons are illnesses. Demonic possession in this day and age would look like some kind of mass plague. So something like the coronavirus would be considered a demon on Earth, to the Japanese at least. And to Christians. To Christians, that's called plague and pestilence. One of the four horsemen. But no, we're not even taking heed to the fact that all four have been in traversing sequence for the last 16 years. So after 9/11, of course. Too soon? All right. Anyway, face your fears. You can't be afraid of fantasy and suddenly go out there and think, I can do this. I believe in myself. All because of a fantasy. See, it took a little fantasy to make you believe in yourself, and it also takes a little fantasy to make you afraid of your own mind. Cartoons are possibly the best way to describe human Machiavellianism in a nutshell. Just watch Foghorn Leghorn or Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck. Best of sarcasm, satire, and all kinds of Machiavellian low dark humor. All kinds in all the brightest places. But of course, there has to be light in the dark. You knew that. I knew that. I think people are just afraid of fantasy because they're afraid of what it could become in real life. They try to hold you back from thinking that your fantasies are real. They try to tell you that it's a delusion. But how funny it is that I can Photoshop myself in front of Virgil while there's something going on that screen and make it look like a really cool screenshot. It's not that it's unreal. It's just that you haven't seen it in the real world yet. Remember, nothing goes as far as the eye can see. Okay? So therefore, if nothing goes as far as the eye can see, then therefore, in fact, that means that nothing's technically not real either. Anybody calls something artificial, but here we are in the real world, where in the real world, plastic and artificial substance still exists in the real world. So how is it that we have credit cards if things are so, if you think fantasy is fake, then surely your own human intuition is fake, but it's not. You're just not thinking properly. There's so many people in America who would try to hinder you from knowing the stuff that I'm thinking about right now and talking about. There are people who would try to silence me just because I'm willing to reveal the truth to you and walk away quietly. Anyway, don't be afraid of your fantasies. Let them live. As long as they're not hurting anybody or causing problems for anyone else, disturbing the peace, stuff like that. Live your fantasies as long as they're not doing that. Be peaceable. It's not too terribly hard, and it's incredibly stylish. All right, take it easy, stay awesome, and Ninja. I'll catch you in another video. Peace.